Okay, all right. Hello everyone. Can you see me? Can you hear me? If you can, please let me know. Okay. So, yeah, today we'll be learning about what is machine learning exactly, right? So, we'll understand what machine learning is, we'll understand how machine learning works. Let me just bring it over here. Yeah, all right, we're good. So let's try to understand this topic. You might have seen a lot of buzz about it. A lot of these startups saying like machine learning and all are getting these jargons. They just say deep learning and like disruption in innovation. What does this really mean? Okay, so what is the meaning of machine learning? How does it really work? This class is only meant for people who have no experience with machine learning or artificial intelligence in particular. We'll try to break it down. We'll try to understand how this works, right? And if you have any questions, you can ask them over here as well. I am listening, or I'm reading your comments. High Level Arts, interesting name. Okay, anyways, introduction to machine learning. All right, let's first understand what machine learning is. What is machine learning and what is the difference between AI, ML, or DL? Right. So think about it. You want to predict something, right? Now, machine learning or artificial intelligence in general is just a way for a computer or a program to predict something without being explicitly programmed to do so. All right. So I am not telling him or like I'm not telling the program exactly to do this. It has learned from its previous experience or from whatever parameters it has had previously, and based on that it is able to predict what will happen next. Okay, so this is really interesting. What we would normally do is that we would code everything out. We will say that, okay, if this happens then do this, if this happens then do that. So this is what you can remove when you have this thing. Okay, when you have AI in general with you, you can use this AI for multiple tasks. There are a lot of these things that you can do in which you can reduce human effort, and you can increase efficiency of humans by creating these prediction systems. Okay, and there are other applications to AI, ML, DL as well. So that's what it is all about. What is the difference between ML, DL, and AI in particular? So think about it like this. You have a huge circle, okay, and that huge circle is of AI. It is of basically artificial intelligence. It represents AI. There is a small circle inside of that, okay, comparatively smaller circle inside of that. That smaller circle is nothing but machine learning. Okay, it is a subset of AI, and there are models of AI that is not machine learning. And then we have DL. Okay, this is deep learning, and deep learning is going to be an even smaller circle comparatively to the ML circle, which would be inside the ML circle. Okay, so it is a part of that. Then you also have something called as neural networks, right? You have something called as neural networks. Now you need to understand this one point, and that is neural networks is just basically like a representation of your neurons that you have in your brain. Okay, it is somewhat similar to that, but not completely. There are definitely some differences, and a difference can be like this. So you have nodes in these neural networks. Okay, let's say you have a network. You might have seen, right? It has these lines, it has multiple layers, and so they call it a neural network. Well, you can see those circles that they are present over there. Those are actually called as nodes. Okay, and each node of one layer is connected with the node of the next layer, okay, through a function, right? And we can define that particular function. We can just say that, okay, y is going to be x plus 1. Now this function of x plus 1 is going to be my new function with which I will get my new x, okay, which would be the y for the previous layer. This is how you can think of neural networks. Now there are multiple applications. One very simple program that you can create is that of a MNIST dataset. All right, an MNIST dataset is just like a lot of data they have, and these are just images that they have of black and white numbers. Okay, so it would be like a blank black background, and on top of that you would be having all of these 1, 2, 3, 4 would be written over there. Okay, now the job of the machine learning model is to understand what that thing really is. Is that a 1, is that a 2, is that a 3, or what is it really, right? So I'll give you a quick example of how that works. So let me do that right now. Let me just see which one. Yeah, so here I have something called as onJX. Okay, it's called as a onX model, and this is a very good example of MNIST dataset. Okay, if you want to get the dataset, you can just go to Kaggle. Okay, just go to Kaggle. That is a great place. Kaggle datasets. It's a great place for you to, create these these models around these datasets, and then compare your prediction and your efficiency with the other ones. Right? It is like a competitive coding platform, but this is more for machine learning or like data scientists out there. Now you will get tons and tons of data sets right here, right? So this one says COVID-19, world vaccination progress, and you can just predict a bunch of things once you have this data with you. You can process data, you can use functions on them, and there are just a lot of things that you can do once you have this data with you. Now, as you can see, there are tons of these things. You can just search for MNIST right here. Okay, just search for MNIST. Let's see, what do we get? Okay, so we get something called as fashion MNIST. Okay, fashion MNIST is one thing. Then let's see the original MNIST original. Okay, so just click on this. This is the MNIST original data set, and this would just contain images of numbers basically, right? It has one file, and this mat file, if you open it up, it would just say that, okay, go to from SciPy, import load mat, and then MNIST is equals to load mat. So what you can do here is that you can just go to scipy.org. Okay, this would be a place for you to do scientific visualizations using Python language. That is the name SciPy comes from. And here you can just go to the documentation. You can see all the data sets that they have there, and you can start using them. All right, so you can start. As you can see, this is how this looks like. You'll have to take a look at the documentation afterwards. I'll just close this right here. But I'm trying to explain you that, okay, this is what the original MNIST dataset looks like, and this is the model that they've made using it. Now this is the UI. Underneath the UI, they actually have the model itself. So what I can do here is that, let me just zoom in a little bit. All right, so let's say I have this, and the basic job of this MNIST program is to just detect if the number is a 1, 2, 3, or what is the number between 0 and 9. So I can just say something like this, and it would just give that, okay, with a high probability, the program is saying that, okay, this should be 3, and this is their confidence level. Okay, click on clear. Then let's say 1, it says that is a 1. Let's say, let me make something like this. It says it's a 1, 2. So you can make like this, it's still a 1, like this. Now it is confused, right? So this can be anything. This can be like this as well. Okay, so now this becomes like a 5. You have 4 as well. So this is what it does. It just detects what is the number that you've drawn here. Okay, so this is how this thing differs. Right. You can just have fun over here, just tinkering around and seeing how this thing would really work. 9. Now look, this thing says that, okay, this might be 4 also. So there are some problems with this as well. But yeah, the confidence level of 9 is higher than that of 4. So that is a good thing. So this is the MNIST data set. Okay, coming back to the point that I was saying. This uses a neural network. Okay, and if you just search for you can just get to see the visualization of how it looks like, right? So you'll see, yeah, this is what it looks like. Okay, so basically what is happening is that, as I showed you, you have this place in which you can search for images, right? So you get this image that you've just drawn here. I've just drawn a number, and this place actually has pixels. Okay, so it has pixels, and then every single pixel has an intensity. Okay, 0 is black, 1 is plain white, and anything in between is going to be grayish or something like that. Okay, but basically you get a number from there between 0 and 1, a decimal as well, and you feed that into this feed forward neural network. Okay, it looks really complicated, but it definitely is not. All right, so yeah, this is what you need to think about here. This is also a version over here. This is more for like RGB. So in this case, it was only like 2 colors. In the background is going to be white, and the text is going to be of like black color. But in the case of these RGB colors, you would actually have multiple layers, and each of that would have RGB 0 to 255 intensity it would have over there. All right, now let's talk about what are these things that are happening here. So you have convolution happening here. Okay, I won't go into detail. I won't like bore you by talking about these complicated topics. You are here just to understand the basics of it. So I'll just close this for now. On Kaggle, again, you can find bunch of these data sets and you can start using them afterwards. Okay, let me close this as well. Right, so these are neural networks. Okay, each of those arrows contain a function that would change the value of x, turn it into a different value, and with that it is able to better process it, right? So in machine learning, right, there are basically two problems. Okay, two big problems. That is, one is classification that we'll be solving. The second is regression that we solve. Okay, classification is basically imagine a problem of you having like 10,000 photos of a cat and 10,000 photos of a dog. You can feed that to this program so that it can learn that, okay, this is what dog looks like, this is what a cat looks like. And after 10,000 photos of each of those two animals, you can just present a photo and you can ask it to identify, is this a dog or is this a cat? This is called as a classification problem. You want to classify it. Okay, and previously when you were training it, you had something called as labeled data. Okay, there are two things. There is one thing called as unlabeled, and then you have a labeled data. In labeled data, basically everything happens and like you get to know, okay, so it can predict that, okay, this might be like a cat, but there is something called as a metadata associated with every single one of those, and which tells us that, okay, this is not a cat, this is a dog actually. So it improves its model. It learns from the labeled data. Okay, that's how you can think about it. Regression can just be like predicting something. You have polynomial regression, you have like single variable regression and things of that nature, right? So all of these things are available for you. Basic problems in ML, classification and regression. An example can be, let's say you have the data of the past 50 years of rainfall in a particular region, and you want to predict what would be the rainfall of the next year, right? So you can use a very simple regression analysis to get to that answer. Okay, so then you have these types of ML models, right? So here you have supervised learning, unsupervised learning, then you have reinforcement learning. Okay, this is just the three broad categories that you can divide each into. Now, the way this works is very simple. Let's start with the most exciting one here, and that would be reinforcement learning for me particularly. And what is happening in reinforcement learning is that you basically train an agent to maximize the score. Okay, how does that happen? You would just say that, okay, I have one food or some value point here that you need to get to, but the agent doesn't know how to play the game. Agent is just like your hero, whatever character you have in the game. Okay, it doesn't know how to get to that place, so it would be randomly doing all sorts of things. It would be moving around, what all ways to move around is possible. Maybe like it will jump, it will go right, it will go left, up, right? So it would just keep passing around it to just see that, okay, how does this thing really work? Where should I actually go? And I can just code in and I can say, whenever the agent moves closer to the food, increase the points. Whenever it goes behind or like away from the food, reduce some points. This way it understands that, okay, if I need to maximize my score, I moved in this direction, so the score increased. So let me actually continue moving in this direction. Okay, now this analysis happens over and over and over again for a long span of time, and that is when you get to train the agent to play the game. Okay, now as I've been pointing out, game, this reinforcement learning models are basically used for you to train a computer to play a game. Okay, now this has been done multiple times. There is a famous organization by the name of DeepMind. Okay, so if you want to know more about that, you can just go and research about that as well. Let's see if I have that. Yeah, so I have DeepMind opened up right here. This is a great company that is doing some amazing research in the field of reinforcement learning and just creating all sorts of these models, which are able to actually, compete against the best players of multiple games out there. So you have AlphaGo, you have AlphaFold, and there are other ones over there available as well, right? So this is actually owned by Google, and they are great at just creating these models, training it properly. This is really insightful. Like if you want to take a look at this, if you want to learn more about it, there's an amazing documentary on YouTube just talking about how DeepMind defeated Go's international master or champion, whatever you call it. And that was a really amazing documentary that you can take a look at if you want to know more about how DeepMind really works. Then you also have this thing called as OpenAI, right? So OpenAI is also an organization that works on language and all, right? Natural language processing and all. So over there, they are running, like Elon Musk is originated with this, related to this actually, and you can just see how they're actually working with this. So they have multiple texts, images, they have all sorts of these programs built up over here. So yeah, this is what I would say. This is how you can just create all sorts of these projects. Once you, let's talk about the resources, right? So what would you actually require to start with this process? Well, first of all, you would need a place where you can write the code. And for this, you can maybe use two things. Maybe you can download everything, okay, and you can have it with you. Or what you can do is that let me just close this right now. Yeah, maybe you can download Jupyter Notebook, right? So you can just go to Jupyter Notebook, download. All right, and that way you'll be able to download it. Very simple. Right, so install Jupyter Lab. Just install it and that would be great. Another thing that you can do is just go to Google Colab. So just search for Google Colab right here, and you'll find this online text editor on which you can code. And basically this is called as a Jupyter Notebook, and it has an extension of .ipynb, IPython notebook. Okay, something like that it is called. But basically what that means is that this is an enhanced version of Python Python files, right? So you can just click on new notebook, and you can create a new file. You can start coding over there. But anyways, this is Jupyter Notebook, really useful, and Colab is also built up on Jupyter Notebook. So yeah, there's that. Let me close this out, and now let's talk about what would you be using, what framework or module would you be using. So first of all, you can take a look at TensorFlow. Okay, tensorflow.org. This is the place where you can start with learning about machine learning. Read up the documentation, it's really useful, right? So new to TensorFlow, just click on this and you will be introduced to how it really works. Click on whichever one is useful for you. You can click on TensorFlow itself, and then you can start learning how this works. Okay, see the guide and you can start reading through it. This is the main documentation. Click on install TensorFlow and you can install it like that. So this is what you would use, very helpful. You can just search for how this works. What are tensors? Okay, now before you start with TensorFlow or machine learning in general, it is better if you have some prior knowledge about matrices and just understanding how linear algebra works a little bit would be helpful. Right, so this is what you have. You have tensors, you have variables, you have automatic difference. All of these things are available. Just go through this part here, right? Introduction to graphs, functions, modules, layers, modules. So just take a look at this and you will be good to go. Okay, now let's talk about another thing that you can use, that would be PyTorch. Okay, now this is comparatively less used than TensorFlow, and this is also a great way for you to start learning this from resource to production, right? So you can click on get started. You can see how people are actually using it. You can download it first of all, right? So you can click on this, it will download it for you. And that would be PyTorch. You can start using it by taking a look at the documentation that they have for PyTorch. Just click on this, and both of them will allow you to create machine learning models. Okay, so that is what you need to keep in mind, right? Just go through this and you can start learning how everything works. Torch, what is a torch, right? So like you have tensors, here you have torch. Just read through this and it would be clear for you. So yeah, this is what you would do. Very simple to get started with. You need to have some background of linear algebra to understand what is happening here. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Let's see what other things do we have. Yeah, so I'll show you a quick demonstration of what is our regression model look like. So there are multiple things here. There is something called as a loss function as well, which would tell me that, okay, how far away I am from the actual answer. Okay, so that would basically give me my accuracy, or like right things of that nature. So here you have the tensor board. Here you have the tensor board. What do you do with this? This is basically a graph on which you have all of these entries, right? So you have these blue dots. All of these are going to be entries here, and this line is a line that passes through the center of all of these dots. Now what you can do is you can just point for every single X here. You can just get like a Y point as well, and you can expect it to be quite accurate with less error. All right, so that's the benefit of it. You can just predict how much rainfall would be if you have all of this data. You can just create like a straight line, and that could work out for you. All right, now this code might look a little bit difficult for all of you to understand. Here you also have something called as epochs, which are just ways for me to loop through the same data again and again to understand everything about it and to better optimize for it. Right, you have a value loss, then you have val accuracy. All of these things are available. You need to like understand it properly. And here I have something. This is more of a classification thing, right? So this is what I would show to you. Okay, here you have this blue line and then this red cross and this dot, and you're trying to classify between them. So that is how this thing works. We are not going into the code right now because again we have a time constraint for this class particularly. If you want us to like talk more about this, let us know below in the comments or something. And I want to quickly talk about a new feature of Unacademy, right? So what you need to know is that we have a new feature that is called as Unacademy Ask a Doubt. With this, what you can do is that you can just ask whatever doubt you have, and I'll show you the interface, right? So this is how the interface looks like. You can just select whatever doubt you have, ask a doubt, put in the doubt here, and you will be like your doubt will be verified and answered very quickly. Okay, and this is how it would look like. Okay, and I also want to talk about the subscription features of Unacademy. So if you were to get the subscription, you would be getting a lot of features. First of all, you'll be able to learn live from like live classes from the comfort of your home. You would get a lot of benefits. You'll be able to learn from the best people out there that are great at these topics, and you'll be also getting some guidance, some study material as well, and there'll be batch courses, so you can just ask questions whenever you want to. Now we also have this ask a doubt feature as well, right? So that is also available. Then you have Unacademy batches, right? So every single Monday we have a new batch starting. And moving on to the next part, then we have Unacademy subscription. Okay, now this is the pricing, as you can see, for the plus subscription. Then you also have something called as the iconic subscription. Okay, and here you would be able to understand how like you would have a person who would be consulting you one-on-one, an educator that will be helping you one-on-one to learn all of the topics that you want. Okay, this is great if you want someone to teach you personally. Moving on to the next part, here you have the iconic subscription pricing, and then you can get a 10% off if you were to use my code ISHANYT10. Okay, and do use this only for February. Like afterwards it might only be like 5%, so there is limited time remaining right now. Then you also have this test series of Unacademy Combat, in which you'll be getting some scholarship if you were to go with for that. Then you also have this revise-a-thon, in which you will be able to revise all the concepts in a less amount of time. Then again, you can download the Unacademy app and use this referral code ISHANYT10 to get 10% discount. And again, if you don't already know, this is the Creative Corner channel on which we have multiple things that you can learn as like a hobby. So you have Vedic mathematics, robotics, coding, negotiation, effective public speaking, doodling, magic tricks, and storytelling, and all of that. All of those things are available to you in this category, right? And that's pretty much it from me, guys. Thank you for joining me here for this session. I hope you understood the basics of how machine learning really works, right? What machine learning is, how can you get started with machine learning. All of that is available right here. Okay, so I have just shown you what are the tools that you would require, right? So PyTorch, or you can use TensorFlow. Go use them and build something amazing. All right, thank you for joining, and I'll see you in the next class.